Now, recently XXXTentacion signed a deal for $6 million with Capitol Music Group, and about a week later he announced that he's no longer on Capitol Records anymore. Now, before signing to the label and later announcing his departure, XXX was pretty much a SoundCloud rapper that generated a huge buzz, and this helped him sell 87,000 albums in his first week through an independent distributor called Empire. Now, this made me think, if a rapper is able to sell that many albums on their own and independently, do they still need to do business with a record label? Are record labels still worth being signed to in 2017? Let's break it down. Now, one way to look at a record label is it's a bank.
Record labels, you got to realize that the artist, every time they do a video, every time they do a record, every time they get their hair done, every time they have a limo that comes up and drives them along, every time they have a meal, every time they have all these things, there's somebody back there writing all this stuff down. And all of a sudden tallies it all up and says, you as the artist owes me this money because we have provided, we were the fulfillment company, we were the outsourcing of your career, so you owe us. So, oh wow, I sold 50 million records. Well, I'm sorry, you owe us still.
Whenever an artist does a video, does a record, gets their hair done, does a photo shoot, they do so on borrowed money. Record labels loan artists money to pay for all their expenses, and the record labels expect to recoup this money when an artist releases their songs or albums. So when an artist signs to a record label for $6 million, we already know that most of the money is going towards expenses. It's basically a loan that the artist will have to pay back through business ventures, or more specifically, album sales. Now, back in the early 80s and 90s, before the internet took over the music industry, if you wanted to be an artist, you had to sign to a record label. During this time period, if you wanted to get a deal, you had to make sure that someone in the industry took notice of you. Now, thanks to modern streaming services such as YouTube, SoundCloud, and SoundClick, more and more artists are being discovered online, and they're generating a buzz without the use of a record label. Let's take Desiigner for example. Now, as we all know, Desiigner rose to fame after he dropped a highly successful Panda record, and soon after that he signed to Good Music. Another artist that performed really well on SoundCloud is Lil Uzi. When he initially started releasing tracks on the platform, he had a small following, but he was able to increase his following to 857,000 followers in the span of a year. Uzi then went on to sign with Atlantic Records and sold 135,000 units in his first week alone. But the question is, why did he sign to the label if he was able to generate a huge buzz on his own? Now, even though the music industry isn't as profitable as it once was, one can't deny the fact that major labels still have a huge financial advantage over just about every indie label. If your label has a lot of money to spend and they offer you a huge signing bonus, that means you have more money to promote your record. And if done correctly, this promotion could lead to more album sales for an artist, and in my opinion, this is the biggest advantage that a major label has to offer. Major record labels are also well connected. Most major record labels have been in the business for years and have built strong relationships with media outlets, and these connections are invaluable to an up-and-coming artist with a moderate buzz. Now, signing to a major label does have numerous advantages, but there are also several disadvantages involved. Take Atlantic Records for example. Atlantic Records recently signed the Cash Me Outside Girl and Jake Paul. So in my opinion, it seems like Atlantic is willing to sign anybody that has generated a large buzz for themselves. Now, this method of signing multiple artists is great news for the label because they have the ability to throw out a lot of music just to see what sticks, and they are almost always likely to get their money back. However, this is not good for the artist. If a label has too many artists, they are likely to find themselves fighting for attention from the label, and if their music is not sticking with the fans, they are more likely to get dropped. A record label is a business at the end of the day, and their primary goal is to make as much money as they can, regardless of the amount of wasted talent that they have on their roster. Anyway guys, thanks for hanging out with your boy Brandon Cage. Do you guys feel like artists still need record labels? Feel free to leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Peace!